Hello, my name is Kim and welcome to the Embroidered Elephant Podcast. Today is episode 24. I'm hoping you can hear me okay because my microphone is in a slightly different place. I'm wearing my crocheted vest top, I think you'd call it. And it's very difficult to place the microphone without making holes in it. So hopefully you can hear me okay. So it is the end of July at the moment. I'm hoping to maybe have this out tomorrow, the last weekend of July, but it may be if I have a particularly busy day today, this will be out the first weekend of August. So hello, either way, hopefully your month of July has been nice. So if you've watched any of my videos before, you will know that during the end of June, start of July, for 2 weeks I was away with my brother in Boston. So it was my brother, my sister-in-law, my dad, my husband and myself spending 2 weeks away in Boston. It was really nice. I was hoping to take more videos, but I didn't take as many as I thought I would. What I will probably do is make a separate video, make a bit of a short video just with some of the videos that I took, if I find many that are interesting. Most of it will probably be scenery. What did we do while we were away? We spent a lot of time, or we spent a few days in Salem, which is quite well known for witchy sort of things. We went to the Witch Museum while we were there, which was really interesting. And there was also a yarn shop that was called Circle of Stitches that I managed to get some yarn from, of course. I will show you the yarn at the end. Now, apart from Salem, we also spent a lot of the time in Boston. So we did quite a lot of museums. So we did the Natural History Museum. We did MIT, which was very interesting. I don't understand a lot of the very in-depth sciencey things. I'm not that academic, I'm more creative. But the way that it was done was quite good in the fact that it made it simple to understand for people who maybe don't have a very scientific background or understanding of points. So that was quite nice. We also went to quite a few bookshops. They have the Harvard Book Street, I think, something along that lines, Harvard Book Square, that's what it is, where there's a lot of bookshops in the same place. So before we went over, I made a list of all of the bookshops that would be very close in the vicinity and sort of set them on my to-do list. We went to a drag race as well, which my husband particularly enjoyed. And we went on quite a lot of walks. We went on a couple of hikes, which were very nice. And the views were amazing. I'll try and pop in some pictures so that you can see what I'm talking about. So yeah, it was just lovely to spend so much time with my family. And especially because my brother lives in America, I don't get to see him that often. So it was just nice sometimes to have a chat, chill, even just go shopping to Walmart or to a shopping centre and just have that time to talk and catch up and it be a bit more like old times again. So yeah, I had an amazing time. Coming back wasn't too bad. I don't think that I was particularly jet lagged. We had an overnight flight home and we arrived home on the Sunday. So we have had, we did have quite a lot of naps obviously, but I think we recovered fairly well and we had both had the Monday off so that we could wash all of our clothes, put things away and unpack our suitcases mainly, and especially do a Tesco shop so that we could just start the week right. So yeah, it was a really nice time. I was expecting to take enough footage to have a separate video. However, I was quite aware of taking a camera out with me. I don't usually let it leave the house just in case anything happens to it. It's not actually my camera, it's my husband's, so I feel more precious over it. The second thing is that I didn't want to interrupt the holiday to film videos or do sort of vlogs. I wanted to sort of be very in the moment and appreciate the time that we had together. So unfortunately I might not have enough footage for a separate video, but as I said, I will have a look. So this is a very late June podcast because obviously I was away. I couldn't film what I had been doing in June. So my brother had sent this to me a few weeks or months before I went away, and I decided at the start of June this would be a really good idea to crochet and give it to my brother whilst we're in America, because then I won't have to pay for shipping. I won't have to worry about it arriving in one piece or getting lost in the mail or anything like that. So I started this maybe 2 weeks before we were going to America, and I thought that was a really good idea. It wasn't. I found a pattern by Love for Crochet, and the pattern was called Pero Globo. I am probably pronouncing that in completely the wrong accent, but that's my English accent, so I will link the pattern below. It is free on Ravelry, and the yarn that I used for it was Crochet wool reborn in red wine colour. Again, I will link that below. So I did manage to finish it in time. The pattern was good. It was quite repetitive, but I wrote down each of the rounds on a bit of paper so that I knew when to increase, when to decrease, and how many rounds were just continuing. So after you've done the first sort of little sausage, they're all connected. Once you've done the first little sausage, it's very easy to continue. It's quite straightforward knowing what you need to do. So I didn't have to keep looking at the pattern. I just needed to be aware of what round I was on and what I needed to do in that round. So very easy, not complicated. The only thing that was a little bit difficult was the rounds between the sausages because they were quite fiddly, but there weren't too many, so it was fine. I managed to finish it in time. I gave it to my brother and he really, really liked it, hopefully. He did give the sausage dog a name. I believe it was Clifford, after Clifford the big red dog, but I will double check. I know that that was one of the name suggestions. Another one was Squeaky, because it was a balloon dog. Or the other one was Poppy, which I thought was quite cool because it's red and it's a funny name for a balloon dog. But I would definitely recommend that pattern. It was quite easy. Wouldn't necessarily do it again in a hurry, but then I have no need to. So I would also say the wool was good. It was nice. It had different flecks of colour in it. So although the main colour was red, sort of red wine, the colours in it were blue, yellow, a little bit of green, you know, you name it. There was different little bits of fluff in there. It was quite good. The only thing that I would add was that there were a few times where the yarn actually separated, and it did happen to be sort of at the end of a round, so I had to pick back some stitches delicately, reattach the yarn and redo those stitches. So it was a bit of a pain sometimes, but it is recycled wool, so you expect it to be imperfect, if that makes sense. So yeah, and that was the only project that I did for June. However, I did finish 6 books, so I am going to go through each of the books that I finished, give you a little synopsis, let you know what I rated them out of 5, and show you this square that I made for them. So the first book that I finished was Unbirthday by Liz Braswell, and this was a Disney Twisted Tales, and it was for Alice in Wonderland. So this is the square that I finished. I was hoping that it would be more red, but obviously you've got the orange and the blue in there as well, which, what can you do? I ran out of red hand-dyed yarn because I have used it so many times in different squares apparently. So yeah, this was book number 46 that I finished this year. So the basis of the book was Alice in Wonderland a few years after she'd been to Wonderland, and there was an occasion where she went back and, she's quite big into photography. She'd taken a few photos around her local area of different people that she knew. When she got the photos developed, they turned into characters from Wonderland, and none of the characters were happy at all. So she took this as a sign that they needed her help, and she ended up going to Wonderland and trying to fix the problem. And it does involve a lot of the Queen of Hearts, and what she's done to Wonderland since Alice last went. It was quite interesting, but I found it quite difficult to get through. There was about 500 pages or so, which isn't an issue itself, but the words that were used were quite big and they were a little bit complicated. My sister actually began reading it and she couldn't get through it, so she asked me to read it for her and tell her if it was any good. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for children, as I said, because a lot of the words are either nonsense words or they're words from quite a while ago, which the average child / teenager wouldn't know. I struggle with some of the words, and I would say I understand old English quite well, but yeah, it was a bit challenging. So I gave the book 2 stars. I started it on May the 20th and I finished on June the 4th. So it didn't take me too long because I was trying to get it finished before my sister came round so I could give her the book back. Yes, here is the book and here is the cover alongside each other so you can see the inspiration I had. I also, by coincidence, have this mug. This is what I'm drinking my coffee out of this morning, which is quite relevant to Alice in Wonderland because they've got the cards. The cards are her guards, I believe. The next book that I finished was The Switch by Beth O'Leary. I love Beth O'Leary books. I've read a few of them and they are so light-hearted. They are romance books, but it's not impossible what actually happens. It doesn't go perfectly all the time. The characters are very realistic. It's very much relatable. And because they're not perfect, it just makes it that much nicer to read. So this was book number 47 I finished. So the book is about a woman who has a panic attack at work. She is put on, is it a month, 2 months, 6 months rest? I can't remember exactly. She's put on some rest. She's told to not return to the office until she's had her time off work. Being a workaholic and going to not working at all, she struggled quite a bit. So she had the idea to swap houses with her grandma. So her grandma lives in rural England and she lives in London, in a very busy city. So the book is about the switch for the two and how it works out or doesn't work out for them. There is a romance story for each of them and they both find their places in the house swaps that they've done. The main character, I can't remember her name, the main character enjoys the slower pace of the rural town, and knowing the neighbours, everyone knowing what each person is doing, being able to help or being asked to help out with different issues is quite nice, and it's a real sense of community. Whereas the grandma likes the array of people that she can speak to, difference in people. She doesn't know everyone in London, and that makes it more fun. She starts to build a community there instead. This was a audiobook that I finished, and interestingly enough, the audiobook and the physical book have different colours on the cover. So the audiobook version has a yellow door and a red door. On the book version, or the physical version, you have a blue and a red door. So I went with the audiobook version, which is why you will see the red and the yellow, and you may be wondering why the difference in colour, and that is why. So I finished this book, so I started this book on the 5th of June and finished it on the 10th of June, and I gave it 4.5 stars. I will definitely be reading some more Beth O'Leary because, as I said, I really enjoy her writing style and it's just very nice. And if you listen to the audiobook versions as well, they have different voices for each of the characters, which I find more interesting and easier to get along with. So yeah, this is the book cover with the book square. The next book I finished was Clive King's Stig of the Dump. Now, I read this whilst I was in school, primary school I believe, and I just thought it was such a throwback that I haven't read it in years. I knew the main synopsis of what happened, but I just wanted to experience it again and see how it went, see if I remembered it properly. So Stig of the Dump, if you haven't heard of it, is a book about a boy who is on summer holidays, I believe. So he's playing in the woods and he trips and he falls into a big hole in the middle of the woods that is filled with lots of rubbish and various things. Whilst he's down there, he finds himself face to face with a man who looks like a caveman. He's very much old school. He's wearing like a fur jacket around his waist, and he's living in this little hut that he's made from rubbish that people have discarded. And throughout the summer, the boy goes every day to meet with Stig, and they get to know each other, and it is about how they teach each other different things and just how they get on, and the difference between our society now and how it was when Stig was born, sort of in caveman times, prehistoric times. It is quite interesting. The ending was a little bit confusing. I'm sure that I probably analysed that at school when I was younger, but I didn't fully understand the ending, but that's all right. You don't always need to understand it. And this was the audiobook, and I started and finished it on the same day of June the 10th. This is the square that I made. So I enjoyed this book, but it wasn't life-changing, it wasn't anything special for me. So I gave this book 2 stars. Here is the book cover next to the book square. Book number 49 was Maya Angelou, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. And here's the square I made. This again was an audiobook, and I have heard that it is quite a classic book, so I was quite keen to read it. This is a biography of Maya's early life and how she and her family experienced racism, sexism, just quite hard-hitting stories. The book ends really abruptly when she gives birth to her child. I believe it's a son, but I can't remember 100%. This is quite a few books ago. I didn't really enjoy the ending, as I said, because it was very abrupt. The book ends when her baby is placed on her chest and that's it. I thought that the audiobook might have missed something or ended prematurely, but it didn't. And I guess that this is quite representative of life. There's no sort of nice pause waiting for the next chapter. It just sort of, it goes, it's life, that's how it is. So maybe that's why I know that Maya has done quite a few books since, and I believe she does poetry as well, but I may be making that up. Maybe I should have looked that up before I started doing this video. I'll answer it below. I believe that she does poetry, but I'm not 100% sure. I would quite enjoy listening to the rest of them and seeing how things go from where the book was left. It's quite interesting. Obviously, it's not the easiest book to read just due to her circumstances, but again, that is life. That's what people experience. That's what some people experience. That's what Maya experienced as well. I gave the book 3 stars, and again I finished this in one day. So I started it on the 11th and I finished it on the 12th. It was an audiobook and it was quite short, and the way that it was read was quite nice as well. This is the audiobook cover, and this is the square that I made. The next book I read, number 51, was The Sandman by E.T.A. Hoffman. It is a very old style book cover, so it was just in black and white, so I was lucky enough to have some black and white left. The Sandman is a really interesting book. It's quite bizarre. I won't say that I completely understood it. So the Sandman is about a main character, Nathaniel, who is obsessed with the Sandman. He begins the book as a child, and he is told by the nanny that the Sandman would come to children who do not go to sleep on time or go to bed on time, and he would throw sand in their eyes. His mum tells him that the Sandman does not exist. However, he becomes obsessed, and there are various places throughout his life where he sees someone as being the Sandman. And it takes a big part of his life over by trying to escape the Sandman or trying to prove that someone is. And it takes a lot of his sort of mental strength to, it takes a huge chunk of his thought space thinking about the Sandman. So it's about his life. The book itself, because it was written in the 1800s, it's not as clear as if it were written more recently. There again are words that are quite old worldly, old English, that are a little bit difficult. Sometimes what was being said went a little bit over my head. So I would just bear that in mind if you are going to read it. I listened to the audiobook, so I got it finished in a day. So I started it on the 27th and finished it on the 27th as well. I haven't given this a star rating yet. When I do, I would probably give it, again, 2 stars, just because it wasn't really my cup of tea. It was interesting, but again, because it was quite old language, a lot of the concepts sort of went over my head, so it wasn't as enjoyable as if it were an updated version, if that makes sense. You might not agree, and that is perfectly fine, but yes, that's what I thought. So this is the book cover next to the square. This is the square that I finished. So I have just realised that I missed out one book, so I will do it slightly out of order. So the book that I finished before The Sandman was The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. So this is a murder mystery book. It begins in a retirement home with some key players. I think there's about 6 main characters, and they, in a nutshell, investigate a murder that has happened locally. Because they've all got previous professions that put them in a good investigation space, such as ex-police officers, a psychologist, psychiatrist, other investigators of various, and other people that are quite interested in murders and solving mysteries and things like that. So because they're in a retirement home, it gives them a lot of time to investigate as well, and because they aren't employed by the police service, for example, it also means that they have a bit more freedom to investigate things differently that may not be exactly legal. So yeah, it was quite an enjoyable book. I would say I would give it 3 stars. It was good, but you could sort of see where it was going in the end. It is cosy, but there's also a lot of characters that takes a bit of getting used to. I would say, yeah, I enjoyed it, but there were certain things that could have been a little bit better, but all round quite good and fairly quick to get through as well. So I started this on the 13th of June and I finished it on the 19th. And this is the finished book square. And this goes quite well with the cover, which is nice. So those are the 6 books that I finished this month. And I also finished the Crochet Balloon Dog. So I finished the squares, and when I went on holiday, I didn't mention as well, I took my crochet squares with me, all of my squares that I'd made, and I started sewing in the ends. And I got quite a few done, and I got into a little rhythm of it. So I put a movie on the plane and started weaving all the ends in. It wasn't necessarily interesting, but it was much more interesting than just doing it sort of willy-nilly. And I got quite a few done as well, so that wasn't all that I did. I did try and nap as well, but I did manage to do about 10, 15, I think. The only one that I haven't woven in the ends for this month is this one, which is Stig the Dump. So he still needs a bit of work, but yes, I'm getting there slowly. I need to get into a rhythm, I think. Now, the only other thing to go over is any new things. So, I have indeed got some new things, as I said at the start of the video. So the first thing that I bought whilst I was away is some yarn from this shop, which has a long name. The Great Adirondack Yarn Company, Inc. And this was from a thrift store. The colour is in Sunset. It is 50% silk, 50% merino wool. So this is obviously not a full skein. This is 25. It's really soft. It feels so nice. And as I said, this was in thrift store. The original price was $2, but it was on sale for 75% off, so it was only 50 cents, and that was good with me. I know originally when you've got on a 100 gram skein or a hank, it can cost quite a lot of money, so $2 isn't necessarily the most expensive, but I think for 25 grams, I'm not sure that I would pay that necessarily. I do have a plan for this. I'm hoping to use it in one of my videos coming up soon, but I will see how that works. So yes, that's the first one. The next one I bought was this one. Now my brother actually bought this for me. So this is by Dragon Horde Yarns, and it's Myth Fingering in Bloodsinger is the name of the colourway. And I don't know how well you can see this on screen. It's a very dark colour, but it's black with hints of purple and dark blues and dark greens. And what I really liked about that is it looks sort of iridescent. It really reminded me of bird wings, you know, like crows. So I'm looking forward to using that. And this is the standard 75 merino, 25 nylon. But yeah, I'm looking forward to using that. This one my brother said that he really liked as well, which is one thing that really attracted me to it. And then this is the other one, so completely different. So this is by Toil and Trouble. And I don't know whether this one was handmade by the yarn owner by the shop owner, or if it was the other one, but one of them was. This is called Snapdragon, and this one caught my eye and I was really interested in it. It's not what I usually go for, but it really reminded me of very specific. So there is a McDonald's drink that you can get that is lemonade and strawberry frozen drink or something. And the colours of this yarn just really reminded me of it, of a strawberry lemonade. So that's why I got it. But yeah, this is really pretty. So that's one to add to my collection. So 2 hanks, not too bad. It's much better than the last time I went to America, when I went a bit crazy and bought loads. I'm trying not to swear. A ton of yarn. Did I particularly need it? Probably not, but I got it anyway, so yes. I just need to work on using more yarn, which I will be doing a project this afternoon, so not too bad, hopefully. So in terms of my next plans, I am hoping to do a couple of Toft kits, because they're not meant to take too long, and I need to get some finished by October. As I said, I've got plans for them. They're going to be gifts. I'm also going to start, I know that it's very early, I'm also going to start thinking about presents for people. I've got quite a lot of occasions coming up in October, and again it's Christmas, and yes, it is early to start thinking about Christmas presents. However, if there are things that I am wanting to make for someone, it's better to start sooner rather than later, because the later it gets, the less likely I am to finish all of the presents that I want to make, and then it's another year that I've got to wait. As I said, if I finished a couple of Toft kits by the end of the month, that would be great. However, if I don't, hopefully I'll finish at least a couple of projects, because it's been another slow month, because half the month we've been away. So yeah. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope that it's been interesting, and I hope to speak to you soon. Take care, all the best. Bye.